It is incredibly chilly here in Houston, Texas, currently where I reside. It's going to get down below freezing tonight, and for those of you watching in Canada particularly, or other parts of the world, I know that you might laugh and scoff at the fact that below freezing in and of itself is an accomplishment or a weather phenomenon, but that is the case. That's neither here nor there, but as I've been trudging through this extremely cold weather we're experiencing here in Houston, Texas, I got to thinking about warmer weather and different kinds of weather phenomena. So tonight we're going to continue to talk about the trucker convoy as it continues in Canada, but I wanted to make an analogy because anyone who's been watching me for a long time knows how much I love my analogies. So as I was thinking about the weather and I was thinking about different weather phenomena, I was thinking about the concept of the tsunami. And I wanted to unpack and really draw parallels between the different types of tsunamis and what we're seeing take place in Canada and the uprisings we're beginning to see around the world. So the word tsunami is a Japanese word, and it comes from two different Chinese characters that mean harbor wave. That's what that word actually means. Now, don't get the tsunami confused with tidal waves. Tidal waves are a phenomenon wherein you have tides that rise and fall depending on the gravitational pulls of the earth, the sun, and the moon. But that, again, that's neither here nor there. What I'm talking about here is a tsunami. Now, anyone who lives by coastal waters understands that a tsunami is an event that is triggered by a violent eruption of some sort or violent disturbance under the seafloor that more or less pushes a large body of water towards the shore. But the title of this video is télé-tsunamis. And I didn't really understand what that meant until I started doing my own research. So we know what tsunamis are now. Let's go a step further. A télé-tsunami, that's T-E-L-E-T-S-U-N-A-M-I, is a phenomenon that occurs when a tsunami has to travel more than 1,000 kilometers or 3 hours in tsunami travel time before it reaches land. That's a different type of wave. And these are the ones that can typically be more destructive. We've all seen how destructive tsunamis can be when you look at instances like the Indonesia tsunami and many other tsunamis throughout human history. There's another type of tsunami I want to talk about as well, and that is the meteo tsunami. Now that's M-E-T-E-O-T-S-U-N-A-M-I. A meteo tsunami has to do with when large or quickly moving storms actually are able to kick up waves of their own. Now I'm telling you all this and giving you this context because I'm going to draw parallels between these different types of storms and the convoy that we're seeing take place now in Canada and starting to see take place around the world. It bears mentioning that meteo tsunamis, those instances wherein a fast-moving storm are able to whip up the water in a certain way, those have had waves that reach roughly 6 feet tall, right? But the tallest tsunami wave ever recorded actually happened in 1958 in Alaska. Now, this wave actually was triggered by a rock slide, and this wave got to be over 1,700 feet tall, over 520 meters tall, and it actually didn't even claim that many casualties, but I'm giving you this information because I'm building you towards where we're going. So we now know what a tsunami is, the difference between a tsunami and a tidal wave, and the difference between a tsunami and a télé-tsunami and a meteo tsunami. Let's go a step further. I venture to say, as I continue to watch this Canadian protest continue, that the Canadian protest is a télé-tsunami, and I'm going to tell you why. Télé-tsunamis are more destructive because they have to travel more than 1,000 kilometers from their point of origin before they reach land. This obviously gives time for momentum to build. Now, something else about tsunamis in general is this. Typically, the first wave of a tsunami is very destructive. But what people who have experienced them before understand is that sometimes the second or third waves are even more destructive than the first wave. And when you think about the way the waters recede before a tsunami, what do you know to do? Anyone who knows anything about tsunamis knows that when those waters recede, it's time for you to get out of Dodge as quickly as you can because you know more destruction is on the way. I venture to say that that is why individuals like Justin Trudeau chose to leave Ottawa and continues to remain where he's at because he doesn't want to face what is to come. But here's the thing. The reason he hasn't returned yet is because he more or less may fear that more waves are coming, that more protests are coming. And he would be correct in that notion. And many other countries around the world are watching the lead of the Canadians. And I have to give them a shout out right now because y'all up there in Canada are doing it the best way I could possibly imagine. You remain peaceful even under derision and insults from the mainstream media and individuals who are there in Ottawa. I'm extremely proud of y'all for that. I've seen y'all actually banding forces together. I've seen y'all do things like shovel up the snow and pick up the trash that is left behind. y'all are class acts right now. And you might be tired of me talking about the Canadian convoy, but I will posit you this. I realize how important this moment is, not just for Canada, but for the rest of the world. And because I've been blessed with a large platform, and because the mainstream media will not talk about these protests or give you the truth, that is what I feel it is my calling to do. I've been blessed with much, and I want to share this information with the world because the world needs to know what's going on and actually wake up and understand what is to come down the road. We talked about télé-tsunamis briefly beforehand. And those are the instances where there's a tsunami that has to travel over 1,000 kilometers. Now, I'm drawing parallels between that and this trucker convoy in Canada because we're starting to see other individuals form their own waves. You're starting to see the cracks begin to form in the individuals who have chosen to subject us to this tyranny over the last several years, and they are rightfully afraid. I've made a statement many times before that fear should be a politician's natural state, and we should hope that there are going to be more waves that will continue. I know there's more and more people continuing to go out and show support up there in Ottawa, but the question becomes, how do we form our own waves, our second wave, our third wave? Because again, sometimes those can be the ones that are most destructive. Now, I'm going to draw another comparison here very quickly for you. That's between BLM and the meteor tsunami. Now, you remember I explained what the meteor tsunami is. It's when the fast-moving storm whips up a lot of water, and typically those waves don't get to be more than 6 feet tall, right? So yes, they are a little bit destructive, but because it is a storm-based phenomenon, you can prepare for it. And we've seen the BLM protests. They rise and they fall very, very quickly. There are moments in time, and there's never a second wave that comes from it. And we always know what to expect before the next wave actually comes. Such is the beauty of the télé-tsunami that we're seeing take place from the trucker convoy in Canada, because it's not just one wave. There's multiple waves that are coming, but it falls to individuals like you and me to make sure the second wave comes and is equally as devastating, because we have to continue pounding this rock until the powers that be realize that we will not live under this tyranny any longer, that we will not accept any mandates any longer. We won't accept any mandates over children going to school, especially when we have many elected officials who will go out and party and have a great time without masks themselves, but then turn around and expect you to wear a mask 24/7. Let's bring this home. There was a post that I made about a week ago, and it was a post directing individuals to begin commenting and sharing the names of businesses that have chosen to subject their eventual or prospective patrons to this corporate tyranny. And what I want to do is bring attention back to that, because that was not just a moment in time. I'm actually building something behind the scenes, and the information y'all provide in that post is going to be critical to helping direct individuals towards where to go and where not to go. Now, this is not going to be for all the different businesses out there that merely put up a sign to show some sort of quasi-compliance. This is meant to be a repository, a directory of information across the country here in America and around the world, where people now can feel confident in knowing where they should not spend their money, because that in and of itself is the second wave. There's over 1,000 comments on that post right now, and after this video ends, I want to ask you to go to that post, if you haven't already, here on this Facebook page, Damani Felder, and continue to add the names of places we need to stay away from, because that has to be the second wave. This is a télé-tsunami that we're seeing take place. Canada touched it off, and now it's up to the rest of us to actually take that momentum that they have garnered themselves and run with it down the road. But it starts with individuals like you and me continuing to understand who is on our side and who is not on our side. And we need to start withholding our finances consciously, determinedly, together in order to make sure that we bring an end to this tyranny. That's the message for tonight. The télé-tsunami.